G'day, I've been talking about the restoration of family relationships within the leadership of the church. Now, I don't know what kind of church you belong to, but every church has some form of leadership. And generally speaking, the leadership of a church are often custodians, not leaders. Leaders presume that we're going from here to there, and leaders know how to get from here to there. They're actually on the road, they're doing that, they're scouting around, they gather all the information. They figure out how to get people safely as possible, from here to there. And in our case, we want to lead people to maturity in Christ, to becoming the signpost for the world in order that people can see and hear and touch and taste and feel Jesus in their community and all that kind of stuff. So leaders have to be change agents, they have to be loving, they have to take responsibility for the whole. And often in our culture, we still, often in our culture, we're still doing that as males. I know that part of the church thinks that you can only be a leader if you're a male, or you can't be a leader if you're female. I don't think that has a credible biblical foundation. I know the arguments, and I'm not going to argue that here, but I'm just going to say that leaders very often are custodians. They're the trusted, true, reliable people, but sadly they're not leaders. Now, we want to develop a leadership culture, that is somebody who's got something inside of them that other people haven't got. They can see and go, and they're willing to own responsibility and help to get people there, get them to wholeness, get them into ministry and so forth. And that's the idea of leadership. And so sadly, we've resigned leadership to some group that just controls things or manages things. Leaders need to be apostolic, by the way. There's no such thing as a leadership in the biblical sense. It's not apostolic. By apostolic, I mean they understand the big picture and they relate to the small picture from the point of view of the big picture. And never mind about big A or small a. I'm just talking about apostolic, that is, who knows the beginning and the end, who knows the end from the beginning, who knows the parameters, who knows is connected to Jesus and offers people Jesus, gets them closer to Jesus, gets them following Jesus, gets them in love with Jesus. This is the kind of stuff. So that's how leadership works. But there is a generational aspect to this, and so I'm concerned that we're not intentionally going after multiplying young leaders, and we're a bit timid in terms of offering them opportunity for leadership, to be part of a leadership team. I know we have youth leaders and they look after the youth, but that's not what I'm talking about. I'm not talking about having a great youth ministry. When I talk about next generation, I'm not talking about a youth group. I'm talking about multiplying and commissioning and supporting leaders who are in the next generation to you. Now, don't make this so broad and everything else that it becomes nothing. And I'm in a certain generation, and you've got to be 20 years. Like, somebody has to be in their 40s to be next generation to me, and somebody needs to be in their 80s to be next. The late 80s to be next generation to me. Soon I'm going to be the only generation left. But so how do we do this? And in Crosslink, we've got an amazing opportunity, because we're a funny kind of group. We're connected in this weird way that isn't obligatory, and it's relational connected. It's apostolic in its idea. That is, we have certain relationships that are important. And so I'm just wanting to give you a couple of throwaways here as a suggestion. I want us to talk about this. I want us to try and go this journey. I want us to model this. And if I'm right, which I think I am, I'm not always right, but I think this is really important. It's important that we create open space for young leaders. That's what I intend to do. I don't care whether people get offended at me or whatever else. I care that young leaders feel that in this movement they get encouraged, in your church they get encouraged, and they get encouraged to fulfill all their potential, not just build your ministry, not just to make your name look more wonderful, not to make your ego feel more satisfied. No. This is actually about them. It's about think about them and think about what goes out from them and support that. And so in order to do that, if you haven't had relationship with older generation people, go find some. It's not too late. Now, wherever you are in the scale, if you've never had Christian ministry, apostolic, fathers and mothers, go find some. Go find out how you relate to somebody who can bring something, a dimension to your life and ministry that you don't have. And I know all kinds of young leaders, and many of them, or I don't know about many, but too many of them are just living in this kind of tribal bubble. They relate to people in their own culture, and when they relate outside of that, they haven't got a good relationship. They don't know how to negotiate. And part of the reason is that we need to recover what it takes to make that relationship work. For a lot of people, it's just too hard, and so they just don't bother. And they rob themselves in doing so. So let's see how we can do this. And start by just going and getting yourself some fathers and mothers.